Friends, can I ask you something? Have you ever seen a person who has everything? A great job, a big house, an expensive car. From the outside, you look at them and think, wow, this person has it all. But then you look into their eyes, and there's this strange emptiness there. And if I asked you, is that person sometimes you? Wait, don't answer that just yet. First, listen to this story. This is the story of a man who had everything life could offer. And yet, one day, he realized he had lost the one thing that mattered most. And what was that one thing? You'll find out at the very end. So let's begin. His name was James Carter, 52 years old, living in Chicago. He had a home on Lakeshore Drive worth $1.2 million. His own law firm with over 40 lawyers under him. 2 sons, one at Harvard, one at Stanford. Every morning, a shining BMW drove him to his downtown office. Over 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. But every night when James came home alone, there was not a single person who would call him. Not one. His wife, Sandra, they had divorced 3 years ago. His sons came once a year on Thanksgiving. The rest of the year, just text messages, an occasional call, very polite, very distant conversations. James had a routine. Wake up at 5 every morning, run 6 miles, go to the office, work 12 to 14 hours, come home at night, 1 glass of whiskey, Netflix, and then sleep. That's it. That was his every single day. And he kept telling himself, this is what successful people do. But one night, a night James would never forget, he was standing in front of the large glass window of his home. Outside, the lights of Chicago were glowing. The reflections were dancing across Lake Michigan. The whole city was alive, rushing, shining, moving. And James just stood there, silent. He asked himself one question. Why am I doing all of this? For whom? No answer came. He spent that entire night without sleep. The next day was Saturday. No meetings, no cases, no deadlines. And that was James's biggest problem, because when there's no work, thoughts come, and James wanted to escape those thoughts. He went out for a walk through his neighborhood. Near Lincoln Park, there was a small community garden. James had walked past it thousands of times, but he had never once stopped to look, because he always had somewhere to be, always in a rush. But that day, he saw an old man, somewhere around 78, maybe 80 years old. He was down on his knees in the dirt, hands deep in the soil, and on his face, a smile. The kind of smile that James hadn't seen on his own face in years. James stopped. He didn't know why. He just stopped. He asked, "What are you planting?" The old man looked up. His eyes were blue, deep, like they held an entire lifetime of stories inside them. He smiled and said, "Tomatoes, and a little bit of hope." James laughed. Friends, for the first time in many weeks, he genuinely laughed. "Hope," he repeated. The old man said, "Sit down. I have an hour. Do you?" James didn't know why he sat, but he did. The old man's name was Walter Hayes, retired school teacher. He had spent 43 years teaching children in Chicago's public schools. 3 kids of his own, 7 grandchildren, and 1 small garden that was his entire world. James asked him, "How are you so happy? I mean, you were a teacher. You don't have all the things that you have?" James went quiet. Walter pressed another seed into the soil and then said, "James, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "When you leave this world, how many people will come to your funeral?" James thought about it. "A lot. I have clients, colleagues, business partners." "No," Walter said it softly. "That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking how many people will come because their life became better because of you? How many people will cry, truly cry, not because they felt obligated, but because they genuinely loved you?"
James had no answer. Walter continued, "James, do you know the difference between success and significance?" James shook his head. No. Success is what you accumulate. Significance is what you contribute. Your life is successful, James, but is it significant?
James came home that night. Didn't pour the whiskey. Didn't open Netflix. Just sat there, in the dark. That one question from Walter kept echoing through his mind. Is it significant? He pulled out a piece of paper. An old lawyer's habit. Write down everything that matters. He wrote, "When was the moment in my life when I truly changed someone's life?" He thought for a long time. And then one memory surfaced, 22 years old, back when he was a young, brand-new lawyer. There was a single mother, Maria Rodriguez. Her landlord was illegally trying to evict her from her home. She had 3 small children. She had no money to pay a lawyer's fee. James took her case without charging a single dollar. And she won. The day they walked out of court, Maria was crying. She grabbed James' hand and said, "You saved the roof over my children's heads." James remembered that feeling. That satisfaction, that warmth that no paycheck had ever given him. And after that? After that, he only took big clients, big fees, big cases, big wins. And that feeling slowly disappeared. Monday morning, James went to the office, called his entire team together, and announced, "From now on, our firm will take 5 pro bono cases every month for people who cannot afford to pay." His senior partner immediately said, "James, this isn't profitable." James answered calmly, "No, it's not, but it's right." That same weekend, he called his older son, the one at Harvard. His son picked up. There was a slight surprise in his voice. "Hey, Dad, is everything okay?" James paused for just a moment and then said, "I'm sorry. I gave you a big house, I gave you college, I gave you everything money could buy, but I never gave you myself, and that was the most important thing." A long silence on the phone, and then his son's voice broke. "Dad, I'm not waiting for Thanksgiving. I'm coming next weekend." 3 months later, the same community garden in Lincoln Park. James and Walter both on their knees in the dirt together. Instead of his expensive suit, James was wearing simple jeans today, hands covered in soil. And on his face, that smile, the one Walter had been wearing on the very first day. Walter asked, "How does it feel?" James paused for a moment and answered, "For the first time, it feels like I'm growing something, not just a bank account." Walter laughed, then grew still and quiet, and said, "James, life is like a book. When it's all over, people don't look at how thick the book was. They look at what you wrote, and most importantly, who you wrote it for. Your last chapter hasn't been written yet, James. Write it well. Tonight, when you're about to go to sleep, ask yourself just one question. Did I make even one person's life, even just a little better today? If the answer is yes, then today was truly a successful day, no matter what else happened. And if the answer is no, don't worry. Tomorrow is a new chance. Because, friends, the last line of your life story has not been written yet. The pen is in your hands. Use it well. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please share it with just one person. Maybe they need it today.